Today we are continuing with our Family United sermon series. Today we'll talk about the importance of values. So how can we impart God's values to our family? Firstly, teach God's values. Verses 7 to 9. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the doorframes of your houses and on your gates. Parents are to talk about God's commands with their children everywhere, all the time, using all possible ways. If we want our children to thrive to the fullest measure, we want them to thrive fully for generations, then we have to answer the call to teach God's values to our children. What can we do practically to teach God's values to our children everywhere, all the time, using all possible ways? Allow me to share with you 3 practical pointers. Firstly, teach about God and His values through regular family devotions. The second practical pointer, teach about God and His values through day-to-day conversations. Talk about them when you sit, when you walk, when you lie down, when you get up. The sensing of this verse is actually very informal. While it doesn't discount formal activities like family devotions, the sensing of this verse is actually to teach our children God's commands as we do life with them through our day-to-day conversations with them. Allow me to share 3 tips to get this going. Tip number 1, our children's questions. Tip number 2, our children's experiences. From time to time, we should step in and help our children process their life experiences. Tip number 3, teachable moments. From time to time, there will be some precious moments that we can utilize to teach our children about God and His values. The third practical pointer, teach about God and His values creatively. How do we apply this to other family relationships? Firstly, do it respectfully. 1 Timothy 5:1. Never speak harshly to an older man, but appeal to him respectfully as you would to your own father. Secondly, do it gently and lovingly. Proverbs 15:1. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. And thirdly, do it creatively and wisely. This sounds like hard work to me. But with God, all things are possible. But this also highlights the unique opportunity that parents with young children have. We only have those few years. We only have that window of opportunity to imprint God's values on our children's hearts and lives in a big way before the task gets significantly harder. Secondly, model God's values. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Are to be on your hearts. Before Moses instructed the Israelites to teach their children God's command, Moses instructed them to have God's commands on their hearts. This speaks about modeling. To impart God's values, we need to model those values in our lives. And this is true for all family relationships. In 1 Timothy 4:12, Paul encouraged Timothy not to be disadvantaged by his young age. 1 Timothy 4:12. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Modeling is never about age or seniority, but about our willingness to live out God's values in our lives. So friends, if you are young in age, do not look down on yourselves because of your young age. Instead, be an example through the quality of your life. And through the quality of your life, God can use you to impact lives, even those who are much older than you. Modeling is powerful in imparting values, be it positive value or negative value. Modeling can be so powerful that the impartation can actually continue on for many generations. One challenge we face in modeling is that sometimes we consciously or unconsciously are practicing some double standards. Plenty of parents nowadays are concerned about how much screen time their kids should have every day. However, a recent survey has found that parents themselves have a hard time regulating their own screen usage. The survey conducted by Common Sense Media found that most parents of teens and twins spend more than 9 hours a day on screens every day. 80% of the time was spent for leisure, not work. This is basically as much time as teens spend on their devices. What's interesting is that most of these parents, 78% to be exact, considered themselves positive role models when it came to technology use. This is what Amy, president of Common Sense, described as parental paradox or double standards. It has been said that values are caught and not taught. I humbly to beg to differ a little. I believe that values are both caught and taught. Teaching alone is not sufficient. Modeling alone is not sufficient. We need to both teach and model God's values. As Christian parents, God has placed upon our shoulders dual responsibilities. On one hand, we are responsible to fulfill the call that God has placed upon our lives. But on the other hand, we are also responsible to help our children fulfill the call that God has placed upon their lives. God has called us to do both. There is no mistake about it. So the assurance is this: since it is God who has called us to do both, then He will be responsible to give us the grace to do it well.